What's up, guys? It is Corey from Super Comic Guru 9000, and welcome to my review of Bleach, Chapter 541. So we got a lot of answers this week, a lot of questions, but there was some pretty interesting stuff this week, and some stuff that I actually didn't expect to see. First and foremost, big shock, last week we got to find out that the entire time Ichigo has been using Quincy powers, which have been delivered to him by Juha, and apparently the entire time Zangetsu has actually taken on the appearance of the original form, or like the younger form of Juha. And in this chapter, we finally get to learn why that is. And apparently, Juha is like the manifestation of Ichigo's Quincy powers. And the entire time, he's actually been protecting Ichigo in a very interesting way. And in typical Bleach fashion, Ichigo is asking questions and not really getting the answers he wants all the time and just repeatedly getting pissed off. But Zangetsu slowly over time is able to give him some answers. He explains, well, you remember all of those times when you were in mortal danger and you were about to be killed? Who was it who saved you the entire time? Boom, it was the Hollow. And even though those events were made to almost look like they were bad, and things were going bad for Ichigo, the entire time his Zanpakuto was actually just trying to protect him. And essentially the entire time, Zangetsu, or whoever this thing really is, Juha, whatever, since he's the manifestation of his Quincy powers, he essentially wanted him to be a Quincy originally. He didn't want him to be a Shinigami, and there's a really important reason for this. First and foremost, he didn't want him to become a Shinigami because he didn't want him to be killed. And this makes a lot of sense because he knows that Juha is obviously still around. He knows that the Quincy are probably going to start a new rebellion. And if Ichigo were to become a Shinigami, he would possibly fall prey to the real Juha. And I think that's pretty interesting how over the course of the series, even though unbeknownst to us, he's actually been doing that for the sake of Ichigo the entire time. But this whole conversation is leading up to the event where Zangetsu is getting ready to go away, and he's going to dissipate. And this is when Ichigo is finally going to get his real powers, his true Shinigami powers, his true Zanpakuto. And it looks like Zangetsu is going to have to actually give this power up. And towards the end of the chapter, he starts to pull this sword out of the ground, which it looks like it's covered by like this sort of just like ethereal power, or maybe it's like fire. I don't know. What I know is it takes the form of a cross, and this is perfect because it goes with Quincy's and everything. But we haven't actually had a chance to really look at what his new sword is going to look like yet. But as he's showing him the sword, he actually starts to slowly disappear. And he lets him know, he's like, you're going to have to say goodbye to me. And he's like, I don't really feel bad about doing this. This is going to be your true power from now on. You've been using only a fraction of it so far. And considering how powerful Ichigo's been in the series, he's about to get one hell of a buff. And the chapter ends in kind of an interesting way with the old Zangetsu basically just sort of exploding into light and disappearing as Ichigo gets ready to take a look at his brand new Zanpakuto for the first time. And that's the final page. It's just that giant explosion. You don't really get a chance to see anything. But it makes sense. I'm glad that they actually explained everything in this chapter. And a lot of the stuff is pretty similar to what people have been theorizing about how he's the manifestation of his Quincy powers and everything. I think the one thing I didn't expect, I thought that maybe Juha like form inside of Ichigo maybe had an ulterior motive against Ichigo. But apparently, even at its core, he still wanted to help him. It's just he just happened to look a lot like the main final villain of the series, so you gotta kind of let that go a little bit. And I love how they brought up the fact is like you remember when the Hollow saved you all those times. It's kind of like in Naruto, how like in the first half of the series, everybody hated the Kyuubi and hated the Kurama, and they're like, you should never use that power. It's bad. And now in the last half of the series, it's like, no, wait, never mind, use that power. It's fucking awesome. I still think it's kind of amazing that of all the Shinigami that Ichigo's met, this is the first time this has ever been brought up. No one's ever noticed anything. Maybe someone has before, and just the author just never really had a chance to bring it up until this point. Maybe that's just wishful thinking on my part, but this was a pretty good chapter. It moved really, really, really quick. It seems like the minute I started reading it, it was over, and I didn't really get too many like mind-blowing answers, kind of stuff that we all sort of theorized. But it's good to finally know it. And like I said, I think my favorite part of the chapter is probably getting to see the reveal of his new sword towards the end. I don't know if it's always going to have that energy around it, or if that's just covering it until they actually do the reveal. But I just like the way it looks. I like the way that it looks like a giant cross. It fits with the Quincy theme. I like that. So Ichigo cosplayers are going to have to change their costumes probably yet again because it looks like he's about to get a brand new power up. But still, that's pretty typical for Bleach. I'm pretty used to Ichigo getting brand new powers at this point. Hell, he even gets random powers in some of the movies. So it was still an exciting chapter if it felt a little rushed. And I think if you're a Bleach fan, you kind of have to check this one out. It's kind of crucial to the story, and it's leading up to the event where we finally get to see Ichigo. I can't believe 541 chapters into the damn series is about to get his real powers. But still, like I said, he was powerful before. He's about to get even more crazier, and hopefully he'll have some brand new techniques along, aside from just throwing energy waves at people. But we'll get to see. We'll cross that bridge when we come to it. So as a score this week, the rushing kind of brought it down just a little bit for me. So I'm going to give it a 9 out of 10. There was some important stuff this week. The big farewell of old Zangetsu and everything. But at its core, I just wish a little bit more could have happened. And compared to some of the other Shonen Jump series, I've noticed that Bleach just really moves at like a lightning pace. And a lot of that has to do probably with the art style of the author, which the art was pretty good this week too, so I can't fault it for that as well. So pretty good chapter. Bleach fans, check it out. Great stuff. And before you guys go, I'd love to know what you guys thought about this week's chapter of Bleach. I'd love to hear your theories about what Ichigo's brand new Zanpakuto could be, what it's going to do, if it's going to have any special abilities, and how he's going to get along with his newest Sauchi, how he's going to start to learn how to be good friends with Hollow Ichigo. And you guys know the drill by now. Before you leave, make sure and hit the like button so you can give this video a thumbs up. That concludes this review today. We'll see you next time, guys. And remember, guys, before you leave, make sure and check out my review of Attack on Titan, Episode 10. You got Episode 11 coming up this week, so make sure and check this out so you can get caught up. And remember, guys, before you leave, make sure and give this video a thumbs up and make sure and subscribe. We'll see you next time, guys.